This is the Our Auto Expert Podcast. Find us on air, online, on mobile, and on your smart speaker. Please subscribe at ourautoexpert.com.
Our Auto Expert. Our Auto Expert. Our Auto Expert. Our Auto Expert.
Now, here's the host of Our Auto Expert,
Our Auto Expert,
Nick Miles.
Locally created, nationally celebrated from the northwest to the southeast, this is the world's car radio show. If it has a throttle, we'll feature it on air, online, on smartphone, and on that smart speaker. This is Our Auto Expert, where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily. I am your host, Nick Miles, along with Truck Girl Jen. I'm glad to say you didn't really notice too much that we were on electric power only when we came into the studio today. You're surprised. There's we were...
The only reason I knew was because you basically said, it didn't charge.
Yes.
That was the only reason why I knew.
Yeah, it didn't charge, but it was on electric power only. It's pretty cool. We were in the Audi Q5 Phev. It's funny to me that most car companies are ramping up to electric. Audi came out with their e-tron and they're ramping down to the plug-in hybrids, which is they did it opposite from everyone else. Yeah, they went all electric and now they're ramping down to the plug-in hybrids. Very interesting. I like it. That's the second plug-in hybrid I have in my garage right now. I also have the BMW 330e. I just did a big story that will air this week on all the TV stations about are you ready? Are you really ready after we lost power all over the country in the last few weeks to go electric? Because I sort of was, and then I got whacked with a $2,000 bill for putting in my electric charger because they had to change the direction of my power line, which I wasn't expecting. So I'm not happy about that.
Well, and it's funny.
Don't think I'm going to not have them on the radio to talk about it, by the way.
Well, it's funny now, too, is because you drive up. Not only do you have all the cars, the gas cars on the left.
Yeah.
You got all the charging charging cars on the right. Yeah. And you've got all these cords all over now.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a trip hazard.
Oh, thanks. I have to have some guy out there with those things that they guide the airplanes down at the airport with. Yeah. Say, watch out for the cords.
It's just so funny.
I'm not liable, by the way, if you break your neck. Just letting you know.
Okay.
Packed show today. Lots of fun cars to talk about. Plus, we're going to go down through some of the cool stuff. We're going to talk about the Buick Envision. Buick doing some super cool stuff. Part of the General Motors group who are talking about getting rid of gas cars altogether. But probably by the time neither of us have driver's licenses. So we got that to look forward to. Jeremy Barnes is going to join us. He's from Mitsubishi. This is a company that's been super quiet for a long time and now coming out with reasonably priced, really exciting designs. And these vehicles have got so much tech in them that I'm like, why should I pay so much money for all these expensive cars out there when Mitsubishi are doing the same thing with great warranties for a lot less?
Yeah, I'm excited about this.
Enticing. Just that's all I have to say. Enticing. March Madness for the sports fans out there. Jen.
Yes.
Jen.
Yes.
Talked to my friend Scott Lesser this weekend, who's a salesman at a TV station in Portland called Coin. Yeah. And you have to just let him get on with it for 20 minutes because all he wants to talk about is March Madness. And I'll put the phone down, I'll go make a sandwich and come back and he's still talking about March Madness.
You're like that with all sports unless it's cricket.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
No, I mean cricket, yeah. Rugby, yeah. Soccer, yeah. F1, yeah.
F1, yeah.
Yeah. And a few others. I mean, I like basketball.
But this is different.
And you know what I like basketball mostly for?
What?
I love to watch the athletes get excited because they're, in football or American football, because it's not football, it's soccer. You guys got it all wrong. Anyways. In football, they celebrate just when they do something cool. In basketball, they celebrate all the time, and they're like, and everybody in basketball is cool. Like there's not a single player out there that's not cool. They got tats, they got cool hairdos,
and remember,
they got cool shoes. Not everybody in football is cool.
Yeah, this is college.
Yeah, and they're super cool.
Right?
Okay,
I just want to make sure you
for someone that's 5'4".
College.
Anyway, we're going to talk about Ford have some March Madness stuff going on. Tyson Jominy is going to be here from JD Power and Associates. We're going to look at where car sales are. And there's some data about to drop. We're going to talk about this later in the month, but you're going to be super surprised about what's going on with car sales. And I'm going to tell you, I've already seen some of this data. Can't talk about it until it happens. But it's surprising what people are doing in car shopping. And then we're going to talk about Ram trucks and Mopar design. We're going to talk to Mark Trostle about the very cool Jeep concept that everybody is being asked to design for the Chrysler. It used to be Fiat Chrysler project that they have every year. Now it's Stellantis. The company changed its name recently, Drive for Design. And their project that they do every year where you get a chance to be an intern at now Stellantis. Used to be Fiat Chrysler. Mark is the head of Ram trucks and Mopar and Jeep.
And I'm glad they kept it. This is a really
Drive for
important
Design
program.
is where you get the chance as a high school kid. And we'll find out the age group to design something. Anton Wahlman going to give us a flash look at how the industry looks. And then also Perry Stern going to join us from MSN Autos and from Our Auto Expert to look at the Polestar 2, which doesn't have a start and stop button.
I love that vehicle.
It's cool. And Swedish cool, though.
Oh, very cool.
It's probably too cool
I just
for
no
for
start
everyone.
button. You just sit there.
Yeah, yellow seat belts. Probably not a reason just to have it. There's got to be a few others. Electric, all electric, by the way. So I have I've been test driving a couple of really cool vehicles this week. I have to tell you that I don't get to drive as much as I did pre-pandemic, so it's harder to evaluate vehicles, but it's not horrible. I do get to drive a lot of stuff. The Buick Encore Gx, which is sort of got the same name as the Buick Encore, but the GX is super important because it's slightly bigger. It has an appealing exterior design. It's kind of this small SUV, so if you want to be high as everybody, but you don't want a big truck-like SUV, it's the perfect size. It's slightly bigger than the regular Encore, which is a huge seller for them. And it's got some luxury accoutrements, which I find appealing. And the price, super appealing. Suggested you pay somewhere around $22,000 and up for it. So, that's appealing. Who doesn't like to pay that for a premium brand? Good infotainment, good driving assistance technology, lots of space for the passenger and cargo. This is the empty nester or the young family style car, and it's where you want all the life creatures and life comforts, but you kind of don't want to pay for them. Is that you? Sort of like nice things, but don't want to have to pay for them?
It depends.
Yeah?
I go big or go home.
Oh.
That's how I look at life.
Wait, sorry, I thought you were go big and don't pay for it kind of girl.
No, are you kidding me?
Really? Okay, well, I'm a kind of go big and don't pay for it kind of guy.
Well,
I like all the cool stuff, but then I don't like to have to pay cool prices.
Yeah, but
big money.
Okay, but you only live once. So if you're going to go to a football game, why sit in the back when you could sit in the front?
Because you have to pay $1,000 a ticket.
Worth
you were
it.
complaining about that the last time.
Worth it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
All
just
right.
saying.
Can you take me for $1,000 a ticket next time you go to a game?
You hate football. You
Yeah.
just said it on the
Wait,
air.
there was that.
Yeah.
There was just that. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto integration wirelessly inside of this as well, and it's a good little drive. I would go test drive one if you're looking for that sort of small SUV size vehicle. Plus, the one I have has a very nice red and black grille, and also black on the exterior. Nice appointments on the inside. I'd give it my verdict about a 7.5 out of 10. So a good little design, 1.3 liter engine, and a lot of the safety features that you want, about 155 horsepower all-wheel drive, so it's going to cope with bad weather as well. I would say I would pay up to about $25,000 for this. And you can get a turbo version as well, I believe. So it's not a sad vehicle. It goes up against things like the Nissan Kicks, and with a few more luxury accoutrements as well. I would just tell you that. Also been driving this, what we drove in today is the Audi Q5 Phev, which is the plug-in hybrid. Does about 19 miles on electricity alone, if you should get the charger plugged in correctly. Just about 4 miles if you don't. Sorry.
Hey,
Well,
we made it here.
Yeah, we did.
Now, how are we getting home?
That was a good start. Oh, we need to start walking right now. And that actually was a lot of fun. And also, I have also in my driveway, that, by the way, is expensive. It's a compact SUV, sort of about the RAV4 size, but it's a luxury SUV. And the one I have, $60,000. Yeah. But it is like super leather, and let me just tell you, the cockpit in that Audi, where you have the gauges, that thing has Google Earth, Google Street, and it flashes up. You can't beat it. The cockpit in that, it's probably worth the money. It starts in the $52,000 range, and goes up from there. I built one online this morning.
Isn't
$65,000.
I was gonna say. I was doing that with my parents last night.
Buy two cars for that.
Check this out. You know you could build it, and then it's like 3 times the price, and I'm like, oof.
I definitely have champagne tastes and a beer budget. I'm a sad individual when it comes to building cars. Like every time I build them online, I have click problems.
Oh yeah.
I just click every button and go, well, that's not going to happen.
Well, I want the flames and the stripes and the.
Yeah, I can't. I do have a click problem. It's don't ever take sleeping pills and shop on Amazon.
I know. Or
this is a bad experience for me.
Actually, it's a good experience for me because I seem to get some of the stuff that you order on Amazon.
What? Have I been sending stuff to your house?
No, but you need to.
Oh. Well, I have an industrial French fry maker. I have a closet full of Adidas footwear. I have a roti making machine. And I have a bed warmer.
Yes, I helped you
set
that up.
Yeah. A bed jet.
Yeah.
And those things were all bought when I had taken a sleeping pill because I couldn't sleep, and then got on my phone.
Bed jet is one of the best things you've ever bought.
Well, yeah, it is occasionally and sometimes of the year. But here's the problem: I put the bed jet on.
Yeah.
And then the dogs come and lie between the jet of air and me, and so it doesn't do any good.
It's a dog jet.
No, it just doesn't do any good. They stop the air getting to my legs. All right, a very packed show coming your way. Stand by. Our Auto Expert continues.
You're listening to Our Auto Expert.
Catch up with previous episodes of the show at our website, ourautoexpert.com. Hear the past shows, see automotive videos, and read insider car stories about your next ride. Our Auto Expert is where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily. You'll find it all at ourautoexpert.com. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Buick. They have done major things with their brand in the last few years, renewed a lot of their cars to make them look fresh and exciting. And it all really started when they had that concept at the auto show called the Avenir. And that has drifted down now to be a trim level, including in the brand new Envision version of the 2021 Buick Envision. It now has an Avenir trim level. And the Envision, of course, next to the launch, or the recent launch of the Encore Gx, is expanding the lineup of their SUVs. Fresh and exciting. I do like the darkened trim level as well. It comes with lots of integration of technology. Now, here to tell us all about it, Rob Peterson is the marketing manager for the 2021 Buick Envision. I will tell you, first of all, Rob, our old radio group that used to work with us to distribute our show nationally was called Envision Radio. They have since been absorbed, but they could never understand why that Buick never did a deal with them. They were like, why didn't Buick do a deal with us and give us an Envision, because we'd have promoted it. But since they have been absorbed by another company, so it's too late for that. But I think they wanted to run out and buy one. The interesting thing to me is it's as big, Envision is as big in China as it is in the U.S., isn't it?
It is. Thank you guys for letting me come on and talk a little bit about the Envision. And, as typical, I'm about a day late and a dollar short with that market hookup there.
Yeah.
So, the Envision actually, is very successple in China. There's they sell about 200,000 Envisions a year. But we're very bullish about how it's going to perform here in the United States. I mean, we think that it's at the right time. It's got the right level of content, and it's a great representative of what Buick is and can be and will be.
I like the one thing I do like about what you've done with your vehicles is they do look stunning when you see them stationary or on the road. But the other thing is, too, and one thing I tend to do with my vehicles is when you want them to be spirited driving vehicles, they're there. But a lot of times when I zone out, the vehicle kind of just lets me do that a little bit when I'm driving, but also sort of monitors me. So it helps me with things like forward collision warning and alerts, and all those type of things to make sure that I'm being monitored as a driver, as you do a lot of times, not so much now during the pandemic, but when you're sitting in a lot of traffic and you're just doing the commute that you do every single day, you don't tend to pay as much attention as you probably should, and the vehicle knows that, or you do as designers and creators of the vehicle, and you sort of monitor us and make sure that we feel comfortable, we feel surrounded by sort of blocking out the exterior of the vehicle, but at the same time, you don't let us get into too much trouble.
Yeah, well, that's actually core to what Buick and the brand attempts to deliver on all of its vehicles. And it really starts with Buick quiet tuning. So we have active noise cancellation, we have laminated windows, and we have triple door seals and things along that to make sure that it's quiet on the inside of the vehicle. And then, like you pointed out, having the right level of technology that is active but not intrusive in your driving style. So one of my favorite features, in fact, what we have is we have a group of them called Buick Driver Confidence Plus. It's 9 active safety features. One of the features that I like the most, because I live on a road that tends to get dark very early, and there's no lights, is IntelliBeam headlamps. And so as soon as I turn on, that my brights come on, and then my brights go off if somebody else is coming down the road. It's one less thing that I have to think about. It allows me to kind of do exactly what you said, be more in the moment of, I'm driving and I'm staying out of trouble, but I'm a little bit more in the moment with those people that are in the vehicle with me. I took the Envision on a road trip, so I have a pre-production Envision, but we went out west and we put 5,700 miles on that car. And that is probably one of the greatest features about it is once you're out on the freeway and you're heading out and all the safety features are doing their thing, the car's quiet on the inside, you can really take in everything that's around you. And it's a really an enjoyable experience.
It's the same thing with like turbo engines and 9-speed transmissions. It's the power's there when you slam your foot down on the accelerator, but it doesn't guzzle gas until you need the power. And it's the same thing with the 9-speed transmission. It's always trying to find a better gear to consume less gas if you don't need to be in another gear. And I kind of like that at the same time, as well as Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You can plug your phone in and you kind of forget it. It's sort of done.
Yeah. The connectivity part is also a really a very nice feature of the Envision. Wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto is standard on the vehicle.
Yeah.
What it really does there, along with the electronic shifting with the push button shifting, it frees up that center console area of wires. And automatically, when you get into the car, it connects. And where I found this to be one of the biggest advantages is when my wife would drive, she would take her purse and put her purse in the car, and her phone automatically connected to the vehicle without ever having to be pulled out of her purse. One less intrusion into the cockpit area of the vehicle, and really just kind of makes it a great experience.
Price and availability.
Sure. We started delivering them in January. We're off to a very quick start with sales. We're going very well. Starting at price is $33,000, and that includes the standard Buick Driver Confidence Plus active safety features, the wireless connectivity, the 2-liter turbo engine, 9-speed automatic transmission, a whole slew of great features, and a very a complete package.
That to me, that's a good deal, because a lot of times you expect to see these vehicles come into the market completely stripped bare, and if you want any cool stuff in it, then you end up having to pay a $4,000 or $5,000 premium just to get them in to come into the market with all that cool stuff. And then if you really do want to get up to the Avenir trim level as well, you just have to pay a little bit extra, and then you get the really cool stuff like the dark and the cool wood and that type of stuff. So I think you've done an absolutely great job there. Rob Peterson, thank you so much for taking some time out. Rob is the marketing manager for Buick Envision, and if you want to test drive one, I'm pretty sure you'll find a Buick dealership near you. The 2021s, as Rob said, are out there right now. Go experiment. Go have fun. Coming up, more Our Auto Expert on the way.
You're listening to the Our Auto Expert podcast.
This is Our Auto Expert radio show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can start a conversation with us. Just ask us a car question. Direct messages at Our Auto Experts, where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily. I have always been a fan of Mitsubishi. They have done cars that are priced well and technology bound well, and also made well with great warranties and innovative technology, as well as the technology under the hood and in the wheel wells and in the drive shaft. And recently announced the brand new Mitsubishi Outlander, which looks like to me something that is a pioneering design. Would you say, Jen? A pioneering design, definitely. So joining us on the phone is the Senior Director of Communications, or comms as we like to call him, Jeremy Barnes. And forgive me if this turns into a Brit fest, but
I know. That's okay. That's why I like Jeremy Barnes on. It's kind of entertaining.
But you don't like me, but you like Jeremy Barnes.
Of course I like Jeremy Barnes.
Jeremy, yeah, it does. We mentioned this briefly the last time you were on. It definitely is a pioneering design. Now, those lights on the left and right-hand side of the grille, the larger ones, are they the headlights or are they the daytime running lights?
Actually, the daytime running lights are the ones that are up high. They're just at the base of the windscreen.
Yeah.
The base of the hood, I should say. And then the headlamps, the ones that are just a little bit below that. And that was actually an intentional design. Put the daytime running lights up high, where other drivers' eyes are naturally, and then put the headlamps a little lower, because that's where they have the most shine onto the road, and it doesn't dazzle anyone.
They look huge. I don't have much. I mean, I'd like to see human beings stand next to them, which I don't see in a picture. But they look absolutely huge headlights, where everyone else is going for small, and you're not quite sure where they are. And it's a very breathtaking design, very different from everybody else is doing it. Was this the one thing that makes Mitsubishi stand out with the Outlander? And but by the way, there are Outlanders I see on the road today. Older Outlanders that still are on the road today. This vehicle has had such a great history in America, and they still survive on the road today. And some of those designs still remain iconic.
Why would you say they're still surviving? They're awesome.
No, but really old ones, like super old ones,
I know.
Many years old that still run around
Don't doubt
today.
a Mitsubishi.
Yeah, certainly the design of this vehicle is something you're going to start to see in a lot more Mitsubishi vehicles. This is the beginning of our next generation of design. This car plays a lot of different roles. It plays the role of our new flagship vehicle. It plays the role of the beginning of the next generation of design, and it's really a commitment to the North American market. It just proves that Mitsubishi is serious about business here in the U.S., across all of North America, and around the world.
So capabilities of this, obviously originally when this size of vehicle came out, it was truck-based, it was very off-road capable. Is it going to be off-road? Is the new Outlander going to be off-road capable?
Yeah, it really is. Look, the reality is that people are buying these vehicles, these types of vehicles. They're family vehicles, right? They're cars that are driven every single day, and everyone wants to know that you've got the capability, should you need it, to drive in snow or in adverse conditions. So what we put in the new Outlander is a 6-mode rotary controller, so you can have you can set the vehicle up for if you're driving in snow, if you're driving in mud, if you're on a fun, twisty, windy road, and then also just a basic eco setting, so you can make the vehicle as efficient as possible as well. Or you can just leave it in auto and let the car pick the best mode. So you don't have to sacrifice any of the safety or the performance to get a vehicle with this great styling, with this great drivability, and for, like you said earlier, a great price. It's a really strong product with a lot of value and a lot of content at a really strong price as well.
And I'm looking at pictures of the interior. Obviously haven't seen it in person yet, but the initial jump for my eye are 3 things. 1, diamond stitching on the doors and the seats. Number 2, looks like real wood accents in a lighter wood on the center armrest, on the doors, and across the middle of the dash. And then a shifter that I haven't seen before, which looks very high-end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's a really nice word for it. It is high-end. we're trying to give someone that. I apologize for the noise in the background. I'm actually just walking through an airport.
No problem.
I'm so sorry for that. But yeah, we are trying to definitely give it an absolute and upscale feel. The ability to get all of the nice things, the things that you would expect that you'd want in an upscale family vehicle, but at a really great entry point. The diamond stitching, I think, is a really striking part of it. The cars with the two-tone interior, the black and the tan interiors on the touring trim, and it's really, truly striking. There's also a lighter gray and also a basic black interior as well. And then on lower trims, there's a two-tone of a sort of a suede-like material with a leatherette on the sides. The vehicles give the customer an opportunity to choose what fits their life and their lifestyle, and their choice is best as well.
I look at this and I'm immediately thinking, if I didn't know, because there is no insignia obviously available for the eye to see on the interior, I might have gone and guessed, Acura or Infiniti or something like that. The last guess I would have probably made is Mitsubishi. And I
think that's a really fair thing to say, Nick. I really do, because I think this car really does put us into a different place. And certainly from a consideration set, I think this really does make people look at Mitsubishi in a new light, to let everyone know that, we're here big time. This car's a real statement for us as a brand.
Right. And of course, Mercedes always championed the diamond stitching, although theirs was slightly different. Theirs was vertical. I think yours is more horizontal, but that's an interesting choice to make. How is the tech going to be on the inside? Because of course, that's a big thing, definitely to attract a much younger audience and even an older audience who may not utilize all of it, but wants to know it's there. Is the tech going to be standard? Is the Apple and Android going to be there?
Yep, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard on all the trim levels, from the least expensive all the way to the most fully equipped. It also offers wireless Apple CarPlay. Initially, there's wireless charging in the vehicle. Right forward of the shifter that you mentioned earlier, there's a wireless charging pad. We have a 9-inch center screen that's on the upper trim levels and an 8-inch center screen on the entry-level vehicle. That's a touch screen, so it's really easy to use. You just press the icon that you see, and it looks and operates like your smartphone, like you're used to operating. And then something that I think is really super, and frankly is a new first time we've ever seen it in a Mitsubishi vehicle, what we call a driver display, which is the instrument cluster is fully digital now as well. That's a 12.5-inch instrument cluster. It also enables you to choose a couple of different gauge packages, so you can have something that looks very traditional with the swing needles like you would see in a normal vehicle, and then something that's a little bit more high-tech. You can just toggle that really simply to get a different look and feel to the gauges as well. We mentioned earlier, that mode selector, as you change that mode selector, it's really simple. It shows you different images of the vehicle in that gauge cluster as well, and it even shows the navigation system in the gauge cluster. So for the driver, that's super important, because it means you don't have to take your eyes off the road quite as much. You don't have to go from steering and focusing down the road to then have to flick your eyes sort of down to the right if you want to see that main screen in the center of the dash. All you have to do is just flick your eyes down like you were looking at the gauges, in other words. Awesome.
And the warranty, how's that going to work out for everybody? Because obviously you guys have had some high-end trials with warranties. You've tried some extended, some interesting warranties. Is there going to be a good warranty that comes with this?
Yeah, absolutely there is. The real pièce de résistance of the warranty, of course, is our 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, just to prove that we stand behind every vehicle with the Mitsubishi 3 Diamond badge on it. That's something that any dealer anywhere in the U.S., regardless of where you purchased your vehicle, can of course provide warranty service. You don't have to go back to where you bought the vehicle. I'm sure this is something that you often discuss on the show as well.
Yeah.
You have callers who say, I've moved or something. Will I have a problem with my warranty? Of course you don't. Any dealer anywhere in the country will be happy to help out if there's any issues.
Biggest surprise for me, scrolling down to the bottom of the page here, is the starting price. A bit of a mouth dropper. Even the top trim level starting at 35, the bottom trim level starting at 25 and change.
Yeah. Yeah, Nick, we've talked about this. We talked about this when we chatted about the Eclipse Cross a couple of weeks ago. Value is part of the Mitsubishi story.
This car is a huge statement for our brand. It's the flagship. It's the highest level vehicle. It's got the most amount of equipment, most amount of technology we've ever offered. But it's still a Mitsubishi. It's got to be a really great value. It's got to be in the heart of that price point that our customers would expect. Our customers want all the luxury, they want all the niceties, but they want it at a price point that they're comfortable with, which is where we had to bring that vehicle in.
You think you're going to make some enemies?
I'm sorry, are we going to what?
Make some enemies?
Well, I sort of hope so, to be honest. We're doing it right. If
Right.
you're friends with everyone, you maybe not doing everything right.
Yeah.
So no, I think our competition is going to take a strong look at what we're doing. And frankly, I think there's going to be a lot of shoppers who maybe wouldn't have considered a Mitsubishi before. They're going to look at this vehicle. They're listening to shows like this. They're looking to experts like you to say, if you're going to buy, say, a Toyota RAV4 or a Honda CR-V, do yourself a favor and go take a look at that Mitsubishi before you buy the vehicle that you think you might want to purchase.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking of my dad right now. He's looking at a new vehicle. He's looking to get out of his CX-5, right now. And maybe he should be looking at this. All right. Jeremy Barnes.
It's lovely. And I know you're going to have a chance to come drive one with us at the end of the month down in Los Angeles. So I'm looking forward to seeing you for that.
Yeah, I really am looking forward to it. Jeremy, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, whether it be in person or on the phone. And I really am looking forward to seeing you at the beginning of April. So
lovely. All the very best.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks so much for having me to chat about it.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. Right. The new Mitsubishi Outlander, it is going to be on sale very soon, and I will be telling you how it drives. Starting at $25,795. Wow. More Our Auto Expert on the way.
You're listening to Our Auto Expert.
Over 12,000 people have downloaded Our Auto Expert podcast, and many more streamers. Join the happy listeners via iHeartRadio, Pandora app, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, or OurAutoExpert.com. Hours of endless fun await you. I'm Nick Miles, and this is Our Auto Expert radio show. 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily from Our Auto Expert. All right, are you a fan normally of March Madness?
There's a few teams I like.
There's just no football in it, is there?
No.
So you're not interested?
Basketball's okay.
Basketball's okay?
It's okay. I mean,
It's the one American sport. So baseball's too slow. Football's too complicated.
Is that what you're thinking?
Oh, dude, I can't watch it.
Do you ever watch golf?
Oh, that's even worse. Shh, quiet.
It's fun in person. You have to go out in a field.
No, can't be. Impossible.
Or the grass. Or
my dad took me golfing once, and I lovingly call it gardening. Because I do more damage to the golf green than I did hit the ball. Well, so Stephen May, your son, will have to take me once because I know he's a big fan.
I play too.
Anyway, NCAA March Madness we're right in the middle of it, or I guess towards the end of it now. And it's like a frenzy. I was saying earlier on, my friend from the local TV station, he calls me up and we want to talk about other things, and I put the phone down for 20 minutes while he talks about it. Then I come back. The first time since I was 4 that my team's won a game, and that was.
Thank goodness Ford created their own.
Yes.
So
that's where we're going.
For people like you.
Ted Ryan joining us on the phone. He is Ford's Archive and Heritage brand manager, and Ford have created their own. I guess we would call it Ford Madness, but no, they call it the Ford Frenzy, or the ultimate bracket for the Ford Frenzy first round. So who came up with this idea, first of all, Ted?
I've got to give total credit to Mark Trostle.
Okay.
He sent around a note last Thursday saying everybody else is creating, is focused on basketball. Can we do it where people will compare all the different Ford cars?
Perfect. So you came up with a list of journalists or a list of Ford friends, and you sent it out. Yep. And I nominated Jen because she's much more of a sports person than I am. Here's a side story for you. I started with NBC Sports, and then I moved over to Fox Sports, and I wear my jacket in the airport, and guys would run down the whole concourse and stop me and go, "Why did so-and-so trade so-and-so in for this team?" And I'm go, "Motorsports, I can talk to you about all day. I have no idea what you're talking about, my friend, but thank you for stopping me in the middle of the concourse." So I do love my cars, though, and I see your brackets here, and you've already been partial of the way through the first round, and some of my favorite cars didn't make it so far, and I would tell you the biggest loss for me, which is heartbreaking, is the 1970s Transit. That was a tragedy.
It is a tragedy, and it's back on. So we got a list of 100 cars that our Ford internal team developed, and then we cut it down to 64 by voting on them. And when it got votes, I began to see them. And thanks to Jen, we reached out to select media partners, and they helped us see them as well. And I put the Transit as a 2-seed, figuring that the UK fanatics were going to vote it through.
I remember the police version of that. I remember seeing them going through the streets of London with a light on and a policeman sitting in them. So that's kind of funny from my childhood. I owned a Bronco 2, which a 1984 version, interestingly enough, which beat it. I see my Bronco Sport is still in there, and there's some other interesting vehicles that have made it. The Model T seems to have huge support. That's made it through to the next round, as did the Ranger Raptor, which is not available in the United States.
No, it's not, and I think the Model T is going to take it out in the next round. And can we have a moment of silence for the 1956 Continental Mark II?
Yeah, what's wrong?
Beautiful car.
What's wrong with people?
What is this?
Hey, my Skyliner's still in there. I picked the Skyliner.
There's a lot of cars. Go on, Todd.
No, and Jay Leno's Galaxy is still in there too.
Yeah. In fact, it's kind of nice to just scroll up and down the page. And if you want to do this, by the way, autoshow.com, FordAutoshows.com, Ford Frenzy is the website. You can go through this. Crown Victoria made it. You got to have a lot of police fans in there. The Mustang Boss has made it to the next round. The Ranger from '83. There's a lot of interesting cars. Now, so what? When something wins, my Bronco made it, by the way, to the next round. What wins? What happens to the winner in the final? And does it get anything? Do you remake it?
We do not have any plans like that right now, although that was funny you bring that up. That was one of the ideas that was out for discussion. We did this whole thing in a week, and if we do it again next year, when we do it again next year, I think we'll come up with different ways to include more media and to get a prize. At the moment, you'll just have the warm feeling that your vehicle made it. I've got to point out the rounds are clever. It's the 32 valve, the 1.6 liter, the V8, the 4-on-4, and the Deuce.
You're clever.
He's
people
awesome.
at Ford are like clever. Do you know what I think is really funny? And you don't have to answer this because it would put you in a difficult position. But I've seen all the rumors about the Maverick online, the new truck coming back, and I've seen all these spy shots about Ford coming back with a new Maverick. And I noticed that the old Maverick was in it, but it didn't make it into the final rounds, which I think is hilarious. However, because I thought there was some kind of shenanigans going on, but it didn't make it into the final rounds. But don't answer that because it'll put you in a difficult position. So when will we know the final result? What will be the date of the final winner?
It'll be about the same time as the National Basketball Campus Crown. On the brackets, and everybody do go to go take a look at the brackets. I think these open up again tonight and will be open for 36 hours or until Sunday night. And then we'll be to the 1.6 liter round. And then next weekend, we're going to repeat it again.
All right. So here we go. This is obviously going out live, Ted. What is your money on to be the winner of this year's Ford Frenzy?
I would say my heart wants a 1965 Mustang, the introductory Mustang, but I think the truck people are truck people, and that the F-150 is going to win.
You think so?
Jen, what are you voting for?
You know, the 2017 Ford GT.
Really?
Yeah, either that or the 1940 Lincoln Continental.
Oh, I didn't know.
Can I tell an out of school story?
Yeah, go.
2017 was not in the version that Jim saw, but Jim Farley, our CEO, he is a car guy, and he had me add in the 2005 Mustang, the 2020 GT500, and the 17 Ford GT. He said, we've got to have those three on there. No list would be represented without those.
Quickly, before we run out of time, tell me what do you think the average sort of age is of all the journalists voting on this, or all the people voting on this?
Well, the journalists, I would have to say, I don't know, 50s, 60s, but this is open on Twitter, and Twitter appeals to a younger crowd. So I think that's why the Lincoln Continental Mark II went down. They've never seen one.
Yeah, I think it's an older crowd. I think you might see something like the Ranger Raptor when I think you're going to see a truck, and I think you're going to see older guys. I think it's going to be something older.
This is exciting. We'll have to have you back.
Yeah, Ted, we'll definitely have you back for the winner. Our auto expert, more on the way. I'm knuckle biting right now.
You're listening to the Our Auto Expert podcast.
Locally created, nationally celebrated from the northwest to the southeast, this is the world's car radio show that has a throttle wheel featured on air, online, on smartphone, or on smart speaker. Our Auto Expert is where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily. I'm your host, Nick Miles, with truck girl Jen. How is the world doing as far as car auto sales are doing? Well, we don't know, but we do know how America is doing. North America, or the USA to be precise. Tyson Jominy is joining us. He is the Vice President of Data and Analytics at J.D. Power and Associates. So, Tyson, we talked to you last month in which there were some improvements, interestingly enough. But in this month, how have things turned out? Are we looking better? Are things more normal? Are we emerging from the pandemic in a positive way? Or should we just take a sigh and go back into our caves? Oh, are you there, Tyson? Did we lose you? No. Just getting frowns. All right, we'll try and reconnect with you in just a second. As of course, every month this happens. The engineers are doing that. U.S. automotive report. It comes out every month, a health report, as it were, for February this year, and they take a look at how things are doing as far as the pandemic is concerned. Are sales up? Are they down? Which states do well? Which states do less well? I don't want to say badly, because that's negative. Less well.
Less well.
Yes. What segments of the industry do well? What segments do less well? Tyson, are you there? Are you with us?
I am, Nick. How are you?
Oh, good,
Yay.
good. Thanks for joining us. So, should we be happy, or should we crawl back into our caves and wait for the sun to come out, like Puxatani Phil?
Well, it depends on who you are. If you're looking to buy a new car, prices will be high, but if you're an automaker, if you're a dealer, these continue to be surprisingly great times.
Okay, so what's positive for the month of February?
Well, sales continue to be strong. In fact, surprisingly strong. Sales for the month we're up 3% on a year-to-date basis. We're up 5% for sales, and all we're talking about is we don't have anything to sell, and yet we keep finding a way to sell more. So a lot of positive things.
Are people having to make choices that they don't want to make? For instance, buying cars that they didn't want to buy, or are they finding the models that they want? And when I say that, I hear about people shutting down their factories because of a lack of chips and a lack of parts, and yet sales are still going up. So that would lead me to believe that consumers are actually purchasing things that are sitting on the lot, maybe not what their choice is.
Yeah, there's a little bit of trade-off you have to make right now. And the good news, though, is that a lot of the SUVs that we have, they tend to overlap. The sizes are all getting kind of close, and the features are all kind of close. So you may not be able to find, the Ford Escape, but there's, thankfully there's a Ford Edge above it and a Ford EcoSport below it. And so there's a lot of overlap and mixing going on. So you may not get the color or features or model you want. And that's pretty much what we're seeing, is that consumers are trading off and perhaps getting a second choice of trim or color or model, but they're still going home with a car.
Does that then kind of pollute the research for automakers, because people are not buying the cars that they actually want, and therefore automakers are seeing sales of vehicles that necessarily aren't the first choice for consumers, so they're not manufacturing the correct cars? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, automakers are thinking, oh, well, our Ford EcoSport is up and selling, but the truth is everybody wanted a Ford Escape.
Yeah, I like the nature of the question and the word pollute. Yeah, it's going to be tough to figure out what exactly it is that consumers want right now. We know they want SUVs, and so anything SUV is flying off dealer lots. And then, correct me if you've heard this before, but cars aren't selling very well.
Yeah.
And so there definitely is going to be some challenge in isolating what it is consumers want, because right now they want SUVs, and they're kind of taking anything that they can find. And things are turning so quickly at dealer lots. I mean, cars are coming, as soon as something arrives, it's being sold. So there may be a little bit of confusion going on with what the market is telling automakers, but one thing that's loud and clear, we want trucks and SUVs. Except I noticed that large pickups were down 1%. Yeah, so we're still transitioning with the new F-150. And so demand's been really high and supply's been so tight. And right in the middle of all that, Ford is transitioning the number one selling vehicle every year of our lives in the middle of all this. So we're still trying to get more F-150s out. So there is a little bit of an extra crimp in the supply going on right now in that space. So I won't read too much into that. Consumers still want trucks. Yet, as you mentioned, compact cars, 22% down. Yeah. Another double-digit decline for compact car after years and years of double-digit declines. Consumers just don't want cars. And the midsize car as well, and that's the famous Toyota Camry, bam, 16% down. Yeah, I mean, and you think right now fuel prices have been going up. In the midst of all this, there should be even a more emphasis on cars right now, and yet consumers are still saying, I can get good fuel economy in a compact SUV, a RAV4. I don't need necessarily a Camry. And so that segment also continues to struggle. Yeah, and, you go down the list as well, sporty cars, I presume, down 8%, small cars down 29%, large cars down 13%, super premium down 21%. I mean, it just doesn't look good anywhere on the list for cars. No, it doesn't. And you may be thinking, can I get a good deal on a car right now? And the answer is kind of no, because the industry has been adjusting its volumes further and further down. The industry is chasing the car decline. So we don't have a lot of cars out there, even as they keep falling off so much. There's really not even great deals on most cars to be found. It's kind of compact SUVs where you'll find the good deals. I noticed the vehicle I bought in 2018 for $37,000, which was already 2 years old, is now selling the same vehicle that I bought for $37,000 in 2018 is now for sale for $42,000 3 years later. And that's a large SUV. And lo and behold, new large SUVs up 36%. Vans up 13%, mid-size pickups up 11%, small SUVs up 18%, and mid-size SUVs up 10%. Will it stop? Eventually, yes, it's going to stop. But, we do still tend to be a bit supply constrained. We're just kind of coming out of the COVID constraints, and now we're getting ready to the microchip constraints. As I mentioned, we're transitioning some of our best-selling vehicles, so there's kind of a third. Eventually, it will stop going this way, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be anytime soon. What part of the country is show red flags? Is there different stories for different regions? Yeah, it feels like it's kind of in the rearview mirror now, but the ice storms that really shut down the state of Texas reversed its trajectory. I mean, the south part of the country has been dominating for so long, really since the COVID crisis began. It's really been a southern story. Well, the ice really changed that in February. We will expect that to rebound here in March. We will see a very strong Texas push here. But recently, we've been seeing a lot of strength out west. California, the Pacific Northwest this year have been doing very well. Perhaps they're catching up from their own COVID constraints. And, obviously California, where things have been in such heavy lockdown, they're starting to emerge from that lockdown now. Restaurants up to 25% capacity, expected to go to 50% capacity soon. They're emerging from some dark times. Are we seeing car sales, SUV sales emerge? We are, and we haven't used the T word a lot on my calls here, but Tesla is doing very well this year. Is the number one performing luxury brand in February. That's a pretty big mark, and they do particularly well in California. So we overlay those two pieces. We're seeing some very strong EV sales and Tesla sales in California.
Now, despite the storms, how are EV sales doing in the Northwest, where power was out for 4 to 8 days, and in Texas, where there was no electricity for up to 8 days?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a tougher sell in those markets. Certainly in Texas to begin with. I mean, EVs in Texas, that's a really difficult place to be selling EVs to begin with. So it's a little bit more of a challenge there. But certainly the weather conditions and what has just happened there, particularly with electricity prices, may cause a lot of consumers to have that in some long memories. And, it's just really where I want to go. So we'll continue to monitor that.
Is there any deals to be had anywhere?
On average, no. But, as always, if you look at compact SUV, that was the number one segment last year. It's now been surpassed by three-row crossovers this year. But compact SUV, that's sort of the bread and butter product in the industry now. And not everyone is always going to be succeeding there. We've got a lot of capacity. We've got a lot of compact SUVs fighting for wallet share, for mind share. So I would really look in that space to find some of those. Vehicles like Ford Escape and Chevy Equinox, you may be finding some good deal on those kind of vehicles right now. That's the one spot where I would really look.
Probably going to wait until the next big sale that happens at the end of the summer. So if you can hang on, I guess, wait until automakers introduce their sales, and that's usually around Labor Day. That would probably be my suggestion. At least you're probably bound to get a deal there. Tyson, it's always great to have you on. Hopefully we'll have you on next month again to talk about the deals, if there are any, and to see how everybody's doing. But I guess doom and gloom for a buyer, but if you have an old car sitting in your driveway, I'm always saying if it's just sitting there, go sell it. You could probably make a profit right now. J.D. Power & Associates always doing some great research and telling us how prices look. There's more Our Auto Expert on the way. Stand by. Here it comes.
You're listening to Our Auto Expert.
Catch up with previous episodes of the show at our website, ourautoexpert.com. You can hear past shows, see automotive videos, and read insider car stories about your next ride. Our Auto Expert is where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily. You'll find it all at ourautoexpert.com. I am a horrible designer. Have you ever drawn a car? How do you do, Jen?
Okay.
Here. I'll give you the whiteboard. Draw a car for me right now.
No, we're on
Why?
the air because people can't see that.
No,
they don't want to.
You should be
see
glad we're not on television.
I know.
Because if you were drawing a car on television, everyone could see it. Draw me one right now.
No.
Coward.
Yep.
I drew a car with Ian Callum, who is the Jaguar head of design.
Did you have people in the truck?
No, he just told me, let's never do that again. Apparently, you're supposed to have ground, and I drew it in the middle of the air.
Well,
but you know who can draw cars? Do you know who can draw cars? Mark Trostle from Stellantis. He's really good at drawing cars.
Yeah.
Because he does it for a living.
I know.
Don't you, Mark?
I do. Lots of practice.
Do you know what? I'll never forget you, because when you design wheels, you design them so you can get your hands on the inside and wash them. That's what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I always try and think about the customer, because I like to wash my cars, and we all know how tough it is to get brake dust out of the wheels. So I like to make sure you can get your hand in there.
And I've invited you to my house several times to wash my cars, but have you ever shown up? Never.
He's a smart guy.
Well,
yeah.
We'll set that up. We'll do car wheel washing and car drawing.
I have a studio at my house, a full TV studio with garage doors so we can drive cars into the studio, but you can show up anytime you like and we'll go live. We can do it.
Awesome.
Drive for Design. How many years now, Mark?
This is our 9th year that we've been doing the competition, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger for us. And it's really proving to be something that is working, because we really are trying to connect with high school students to let them know about the field of automotive design. And I think one of the successes that I'm seeing is that we've actually hired one of our previous winners who found out about car design through the competition. He went to a design school, and he now actually works for us. So
That's
it's
awesome.
a pretty cool thing for us.
Awesome. We should give the website out. We'll do this a couple times during the interview, but it's Stellantis, Stellantis, drivefordesign.com, and then the number sign with slash, the number sign slash. I don't know if you need that part, but it comes up when I go to the website. You have a number of days to enter. What are the prerequisites to win this competition or to enter this competition, Mark?
Yeah, we're asking high school students grades 10 through 12 to design an electrified Jeep of the future. So, we're really interested to see, what does a high school student think? Everyone knows the Jeep brand. What do they think an electrified version of a Jeep in the future should look like? So we really want them to have fun, use their creativity, and show us what they think. Their entries have to be in by May 14th as well. So, pretty quick turnaround, but we're excited.
I'm looking at some of the previous years where you had guys do renderings for Ram. One by a gentleman from Santa Rosa, California, Joe Scanderia, 12th grader from Santa Rosa, California, who had something called Magma, which looks pretty fierce, by the way, a Ram truck called Magma. Did you ever use any of his ideas in a truck?
No, we didn't. But, it was, I remember his entry well. In fact, I will say that he is actually attending College for Creative Studies in Detroit to become a car designer as well. So he's having some success already. But I do remember his entry, and, we always love to see, the thoughts and the emotion and even the passion that the high school students put into their artwork.
I like, first of all, I like Alex David Kirschman's entry. He's a green 11er from Auburn Hills in Michigan, not a stone's throw away from your headquarters. He designed a Ram called Guts Glory Ram. And I really like the cab idea on it. And plus, anybody that uses two names, Alex David, he's got to be a designer because he's already cool.
Look, and he's got a little cowboy in there.
Oh, yeah. Well, sort of. Yeah, he's very clever. So give us some tips for anybody who wants to enter. What's the inside track? What's the secret to designing this Jeep? Clearly, it has to be able to go everywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, good design starts with, carrying over whatever the brand or the brand identity is. So Jeep definitely has a 7-slot grille. Even though it's electrified, we'd love to see how creative can that be interpreted and let the students do something that we haven't seen before for the rest of the vehicle. How do they want to use it? Draw the car in a couple different views. Maybe show the inside of it. What are the functions that it can do that are unique that set it apart from everything else?
I like that idea too. And then what does the winner get? What's the cache of prizes that you're going to spill onto this winner?
Yeah. So one of the things that the students get is a 4-week scholarship to attend the College for Creative Studies. They have a design course for high school students. This year it is going to be online for obvious reasons, but still they get trained by professional designers that actually are instructors at the school. The winners also get some one-on-one Zoom time with Ralph Gilles, who is the head of Stellantis Design.
Yeah.
We did that last year, and it was really great for us to look at the students' portfolios and give them some real-time feedback. They also get a few Apple products as well to continue their art and sketching
careers. Yeah. That's a nice little package for them. They should be very happy with that. 10th to 12th grade, if you're up for that, designing a Jeep of the future. And Mark will judge you, as well as some other people, I'm sure, from Stellantis. All right, Mark. Well, listen, I'm looking forward to having you guys back on to announce the winner. If you want the website, I'll give it to you again. You don't need that crazy number thing I gave you. You just need Stellantis, Stellantis, TIS, drivefordesign.com. Go make your entry. All the rules are there, by the way. You can download bits and pieces to help you. It gives you all the rules. It gives you who's going to be judging you. It shows you some of the previous winners, timings and deadlines, and then you could be as incredible and as amazing as Mark Trostle from FCA or now Stellantis. Mark, you're a great guy. Love having you on. We'll talk again soon.
You're listening to the Our Auto Expert podcast.
This is Our Auto Expert radio show. Our Auto Experts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can start a conversation with us. Ask a car question. Just direct messages at Our Auto Expert, where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily. Anton Wahlman, independent analyst and investor. Anton, of course, we love having him on the show. You can read a majority of his stuff at The Street and Seeking Alpha. And Anton joins us as an independent analyst and investor. Anton, you always come up with a very good list of topics for us to talk about every week. So let's talk about the fact that China is restricting its military from using Tesla cars inside because maybe there's spyware inside Teslas. Is there spyware inside Teslas? Maybe that should be the question we ask first of all.
Well, Nick, this goes to a far broader issue of devices that have both cameras and listening ability. I mean, any given smartphone around that most people have these days have all sorts of capabilities on them that aren't fundamentally different from what we are talking about in this instance, but for some reason, some entities can get a little bit more riled up when you put a whole bunch of cameras inside and outside of an automobile, and you have microphones inside a vehicle that can listen to conversations that take place in a vehicle and outside the vehicle for that matter. So what happened here most recently is a set of reports that came out from Bloomberg and Reuters and the Wall Street Journal, which said that the Chinese military has now restricted the use of Teslas on military bases and other sensitive locations. Now, one can argue the finer points about precisely where do they draw the precise geographical boundaries as to when you approach a military base or when you're close to one, or what constitutes a military base or a sensitive location, and who among the general civilian population knows when they're really close to a certain defined geographic space. So the point here is that they're getting really antsy and nervous about this, and I basically told people not to use Teslas in a whole bunch of locations. And we're waiting for further clarification as to how restrictive this really would be. And the issue, for that matter, is far broader than Tesla and China. It really amounts to any automobile when you think about it in almost any geography around the world. I mean, if you are a country and you have vehicles driving around with cameras and listening devices that are recording stuff and potentially sending something upstream, this is of course goes far beyond China and Tesla. It goes to every automaker in every country. But this is where it starts because, of course, the U.S. and China are almost in a war when you think about it in terms of information technology and spying on each other and so forth. So this is kind of where the hottest battle is being fought these days.
And, it goes to show that we've also had these concerns about it coming the other way. Biden and other companies that make cars in China and want to ship them to the United States, Chinese military owns certain portions of these car companies, and they hold some of the servers and Chinese military bases, and these things have been brought up as a concern, whether they're true or not, or whether they have access to the data or not. It's been brought the other way, and people have raised those concerns, and they may be unfounded, but at the same time, the Chinese are just doing what we've been saying for a long time at the same time. So when you zoom out to 10 million feet, it's tit for tat, right?
That's right, Nick. When we had this conversation on your program here, this was probably 3 or 4 years ago now, and I wrote numerous articles on this subject back then, 4 or 5 years ago, that, this is only the logical consequence the fundamental animals that we are dealing with here. And when I talk about animals, I mean any electronic type device, maybe that TV set that you buy that is made in a foreign country that has all sorts of listening devices in it, for example, or a built-in camera, and of course the most obvious and the most widespread device is the smartphone. But in this case, the automobile is of course a mobile instrument. And ask yourself, Nick, where are you allowed to fly a drone in the United States today without a permission? Are you allowed to fly a drone over a military base? Are you allowed to fly a drone over an airport? Are you allowed to drive, a drone over a major populated area such as New York City or Portland, Oregon, or whatever it may be these days? The answer is no, you're not. And these are some of the big issues that are coming to the forefront here as people pack.
Now, Anton, we've talked about the possibility of a car in the future, a car that doesn't have any devices in it that can communicate with the cloud, communicate with your phone. Perhaps this will be the car of the future that everybody wants to buy that has no communication devices in it whatsoever, a stripped communication car that has none of this device in it, that doesn't have a cell phone that plugs in and uses any sort of device to communicate. Perhaps that's what everybody's going to want in the future, because they just cannot rely on any of the devices in a vehicle that is communicating and passing information to and from. But ultimately, is it coming? Do you think people are just going to get tired of their information being passed between different people once they get into a vehicle? Oh, we may have lost Anton. Yep, I think we did. Well, yeah, we'll try and recommunicate with Anton. I think at some point that's going to happen. There's going to be a section of society that's going to say, hey guys, unfortunately, I'm not ready for my vehicle, my cell phone, to communicate with people, and I'm just going to do without. The trouble is, if you get into a car with your cell phone on, and you don't just turn it off, it's communicating. And every month I get an email from Google that says, hey, these are the places you've been this month, and it shows me, even if I didn't tell it.
Well, you can take the location off.
Yeah, you can turn your GPS off, but does it still know you were there?
I don't know.
Yeah, it does. This is one of the reasons that BMW and Toyota took such a long time to do deals with Apple, with Android Auto, is because they didn't want the upload of all the information. So, Anton, my question was, is it going to be long before there's going to be this car on the market that has zero communication devices in it, and people just buy it because they're tired of their information being uploaded to the cloud?
You'd think and you'd hope so, Nick, but the problem is, I've been saying this now for half a decade, that the most prized option that you'll be able to order from a car at some point in the future is the non-connected car, the disconnected car, a car that promises that it will not be able to record, upload, or ingest any information from the outer world wirelessly or on an active basis. So far, I haven't seen any automaker pick up on this idea, but that doesn't mean that it's coming, that is not coming. And I think this is going to be something that as soon as the consumer really realizes what kind of situation they're in, that they'll want to demand. But you know how it is, Nick. A lot of the consumers are simply unaware of the technology that's in there, and they're unaware of what it can do. So consumer awareness here seems to really lag the realities that are happening on the ground.
Surprise not. Elon Musk announcing further delays in the full self-driving software. Has to be rewritten again. He's rolling back the rollout of the self-driving software. Are you surprised? I'm going to say not.
No. I was listening carefully to the original press conference for full self-driving, which took place on or about October 19 of 2016, where he promised that every Tesla is now level 5, and there was going to be software upgradable to level 5. The hardware is all there. It's all ready to rock and roll. And basically, if you just pay down your $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, now you'd have it soon enough. Well, now we're sitting here 4.5 years later, Nick, and there's nothing. I mean, we have seen that the filings that Tesla has in front of the California authorities show very clearly that this system is a strict level 2 system. It's not going to go beyond the level 2 system.
Yeah.
But yet Tesla keeps basically marketing it as something far more than that.
Broken record as far as I'm concerned. Excited that BMW are moving forward with their electric plans ahead of schedule, when everybody else is delaying. They're moving up the plans for their new i4 and their iX, which I find stimulating.
Well, I mean, I think there was a bit of a one step forward, 2 steps back dance here that BMW took in recent years. These were vehicles that were originally scheduled for this time frame, and then a few months ago, blaming the pandemic and so forth, they were going to delay them a few months, and now they're saying, well, I think we might bring them out before the end of 2021 after all. So the i4 in particular, which is the sort of the sedan Grand Coupe, kind of the 3 Series Grand Coupe type of vehicle, will be coming out before the end of this year, and then the iX, which is sort of an X5 all-electric vehicle, will be out early 2022, at least in Europe, and at some point later in 2022 will reach the United States as well.
But it looks like they're aggressively pushing to go forward with this really, really hard, because they know that everybody else is delayed and they're trying to get them out as soon as possible. And I know they've made huge plans to try and make conversions, moving their combustion engine factories to Austria, investing huge amounts of money to try and change their factories over. And just talking to them and seeing some of the plans, it looks like they're really making a big push forward.
That's right, Nick. I mean, BMW is at the end of the day doing what all the automakers are having to do. They're simply following the new laws that dictate the fleet mix, and they're all trying to move forward. The question is just one of execution and the precise sequencing of this versus that model. Interestingly, the original BMW i3, which was truly a revolutionary car in its own right when it came out in 2013, that team left BMW in April of 2015 and joined Volkswagen. So if you want to look at the heart of that vehicle, it is now inside the Volkswagen ID platform.
Yeah. Anton Wahlman, you can read his stuff at The Street and Seeking Alpha. Very, very good guy. We'll be back with OurAutoExpert.com.
You're listening to Our Auto Expert.
Over 12,000 people have downloaded Our Auto Expert podcast, and many more stream the podcast. Join the happy listeners at iHeartRadio, Pandora app, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. OurAutoExpert.com also has it. Hours of endless fun await you, right, Jen? I'm Nick Miles, and this is Our Auto Expert radio show, where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily at Our Auto Expert. Joining us is Perry Stern. You can read much of his stuff at MSN Autos, and also OurAutoExpert.com. Perry is a recent convert, I hope, to the Polestar 2, which we had the luxury of having a baptism by electricity recently. Are you a fan, Perry?
A baptism by electricity?
Yes.
Yes, I'm a big fan. I'm definitely on board with the Polestar 2. It's a fun car to drive, and it looks pretty cool too.
It's one of the things I will say about what I found is that they could have done a horrible job with it. It's probably the same size or somewhere between a Accord, slightly smaller than the Honda Accord, and they could have just made a boring sedan out of it. And they did. They made an extremely exciting electric car out of it, with so many features that are very intuitive, made the driving very exhilarating, handles much more like something that should be on a racetrack for obvious reasons. They come from a racing heritage, and the price isn't too horrendous, which it could have been for a sort of a luxury sporty car. It definitely has the Volvo Swedish feel to it, and they really hit it out of the park, I think.
I really like.
I think so too. I mean, the style of it looks great. I had several people, want to know what it is, because there's a little Polestar logo on the front and back, but it doesn't say Polestar on it anywhere, which perhaps is a marketing faux pas. I don't know, but you're getting people looking at it, and it's got these big 20-inch wheels on it, which work really well with the the hatchback shape. We had the performance package on the one I drove. And so it had the gold brake calipers, which is just this nice little splash of color. And you get a yellow seatbelt inside, which is also a nice little feature. But you're right, it is absolutely a blast to drive. I mean, I think 0 to 60 is like 4.5 seconds, and there is no wheel slip. I mean, it's not a four-wheel drive system that has to engage. So motor on the front and motor on the back, and they just go. Just makes me smile every time I put my foot down.
I really like the nice clean lines in the design of this vehicle.
Yeah,
the front.
It's not complicated at all. And I think it's
very contemporary.
I don't know about you, Perry, but I feel the departure from Volvo is still happening. Polestar 1, of course, was a hybrid. The Polestar 2 now all electric, and they're saying things will depart from this vehicle, like they will lose the Thor hammer lights eventually. They will start to separate the designs a little more, and it will become more of a standalone brand from Volvo, and it'll have its own identity in the future, which I think it definitely has a different look, and it will separate more from the brand. But it's interesting. Go on.
I was going to say, and I think that was their goal all along. Polestar 1 was kind of the cross. In fact, Polestar 1 looked exactly like a Volvo concept from a couple of years earlier. In fact, it practically was. But the other main difference between this and a Volvo, when you get in, is they've gotten rid of the Volvo Infotainment System, which I've never been a big fan of.
Right.
And they have the big screen, but it's all Android-based, which is fantastic. So you get Google Maps already built in. You can converse with it as you would with your Android phone. And in fact, you can even log in with your Google account, and it will bring in all of your favorites from your maps and from your other preferences. And so it's instant integration and personalization. And you can have multiple logins. So if you have a couple people in the family driving it, they can set it up the way they want. And so it's really high tech. At the same time, it's really simple to use. I was
having a hard time separating Volvo and Polestar because Volvo recently made the announcement that they were going to go all electric. And so then what was the difference? And I think the difference is when you sit
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, when you actually sit in it and drive it, it's not a family car. This is for the driver who really wants to feel spirited. And it's not a sports car either because it's not hard to drive. It's very easy to drive. And when you canyon carve in this, it's almost like featherweight. I mean, it glides through the canyons. It's not carving. I always think of carving as carving meat off a bone where there's some work to do and some guiding. This floats. It's a real float feeling to it, and not in a soft suspension way, but it's easy to guide. It's so easy to guide. There's no difficulty in driving it.
It's very agile. It's fun to drive, but I think it also does work as a family car. I mean, just cruising around town, back seat has actually got a good amount of room. You've got the USB ports for the back seat passengers. It's got the panoramic roof, so it feels really airy inside. So I think they've done a wonderful job. I think one of my only nitpicks that bugged me a bit was that the range is in 10-mile increments.
Yeah.
And in the scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't think 9 miles is going to make or break it. But, with all of the high-tech and digital qualities of this car, you get used to being able to watch, it's like, all right, I have 47 miles left. Oh, it's up to 48 now. It's 49.
Yeah.
Where this one will be at 40 for a while, and then it drops down to 30.
Yeah. And
so it's... Yeah. That's the only thing that bugged me a bit, but I could learn to live with that.
The reason I say it's not a family car, and it's purely a selfish reason, and I've never had the pleasure of spending any time with your wife, but when
that
I had...
sounds awful.
And he'll know exactly what I mean. When I took Jen in this car, I almost got thumped because it pushes me to drive it like a race car driver. And with Jen in the car, she's like, "What are you doing? Slow down! Stop doing that!" And as a if you were going to take the family somewhere, it's the sort of car that I want to take on my own, and I hearken back to the GLS with you and I, Perry, driving that up the canyons in Malibu. That's the sort of driving you'd want to do in this car, right? That's the sort of driving you want to do in this. It's not the driving.
I would agree. I mean, it definitely makes you want to do that. The great thing about this car is it's perfectly comfortable not doing that too.
Yeah.
So if you have to take the family, it works perfectly fine for that. But, hopefully you have a family that really likes
Canyon carving?
Used to call it fast turns.
Yes. Hopefully you have a family that's very tolerant and doesn't scream at you. Unlike driving with Jen.
Yeah, I didn't really yell at you.
No, I could see it in your face, and she clasps the seatbelt and looks at me like, I hate you. I'm not sure how your wife reacts when you canyon carve. You're probably much nicer about it, Perry.
I've been married long enough to know not to do that when my wife is in the car.
Yeah. I get to drive with Jen twice a week to the studio and back on the days of the show. Mm-hmm. So that's how that
and your
works.
goal is to frighten her as much as you can.
Not really. It just comes naturally. Sorry.
It's let's see if I can throw up. How fast I can get to throw up for the studio. Here, read something to me.
It's kind of a challenge, Perry. You kind of know how I am. I mean, you put something in front of me and say you can't do it. I have a hard time not, doing what I was told. So I apologize, Jen. I apologize, everybody, but it's just the way I'm manufactured.
We know.
Perry, it's an exciting car, and I really hope everybody gets a chance to drive the 408 horsepower of electrical luxury. Perry Stern, you can read his stuff at ourautoexpert.com, at MSN Autos. He is definitely a person you should well read up on because he has very good opinions and reports on many things. Ourautoexpert.com, 24/7. Go read, go listen, go watch.
You've been listening to Our Auto Expert with Nick Miles. Find all the show episodes at ourautoexpert.com. Please follow us on all social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Our Auto Expert, and message us for a quick and witty response.